All right.
All right.
A little bit of a quiet crew right now. It's understandable. It's what time is it? 3:30.
3:30, raining outside, so.
Yeah. Thanks for everyone that's sticking around right now. My name is Greg Taylor. I'm a senior sales director at LiveIntent. Joining me today is Paolo Provinciali from LinkedIn.
Hi, everyone. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, so we kind of wanted to have a casual chat around more like the humanity of our industry and tying the human element to both data and AI. I think that there's a lot of conversations going around about where the future is going of our industry, but I think so often we forget to actually review the human element of it. And I think that's a really important topic to speak about, especially with someone from LinkedIn, to tie that all together. So that's what we wanted to focus on today. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about LinkedIn, because as I mentioned, they do bring a very human element to our industry and to other industries at large. So LinkedIn really kind of started out as like the social media network for jobs and for industry, but it's really started to evolve so much more from that. If you want to talk about a little bit about that and the evolution of LinkedIn from what it first started at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that LinkedIn lives at a very interesting intersection between kind of identity and conversation and context that is very positive for the platform, and it's very positive for the people that are on the platform. And they manifest itself by obviously being a professional network, right? And therefore, you have your best interest in having your updated profile, everything you achieve professionally, and therefore having very fresh data and information about the people that are on the platform. But at the same time, because it's a professional network, you also want to be on your best behavior. And therefore, you create this context where everyone acts up as their best professional self, and they create a very positive conversation. So they actually create the cycle where, businesses want to be involved with LinkedIn, and people want to engage with LinkedIn in order to learn from each other, to exchange ideas and things like this. And therefore, the platform over time has evolved from, as you were saying, right, a place where you find a new job, or the humble bragging of like, oh, I've done this and done that, to something that people bring their true self to the platform, and more of a comprehensive view of what they are. In the past few years, we embraced this idea of bring everything about what makes you your professional self to work, always in a professional manner, but to show different facets of who you are, because diverse teams are actually very strong teams. And therefore, by encouraging that, you actually can show more of what makes your day-to-day, your professional career, your professional identity, your professional life. And at the same time, you can come to this environment that is very safe and it's very constructive to learn and exchange ideas, as I was saying before. I personally use it to learn from the people, from the community, and for both the people I'm connected with, but also the people that I'm not connected with. I will post, a blog post or a hot take on some news, and then will people chime in and come and provide their point of view about things, and there I learn. I explore an angle that I hadn't considered before, and it makes me a better professional. And that's, I think, what people are seeing in the value of engaging with a platform over time.
Great, and I think that taking that a step further, right? We're talking about individuals, but just as important, I think, as the other side of the coin of LinkedIn, because it is a place where people are trying to both enhance their careers, learn more, but it's also for companies too, and creating that company profile. So what do you suggest that companies should be doing in using LinkedIn as a platform to either communicate more effectively to either potential customers or to other potential future employees that will really make it much more effective in opening up that one-to-one conversation?
That's such a good question, because you started a conversation by talking about a human truth, and the human truth is that we have this very wrong bias about how B2B businesses and professionals make decision, which is absolutely not true, because we believe that the B2B decision maker is only one, and is incredibly rational in their decision. But actually, that couldn't be farther from truth. Even if I'm, say, a key decision maker in media or MarTech or data and analytics, right? By the time a proposal comes to me, has been filtered by so many people in my team, in my agency, my partners from a from a legal standpoint, from a sourcing standpoint. That what gets to me is not necessarily what you might have come in the first place to my team with, right? And so everyone brings their lens, everyone brings their bias, and so the job that you have to do as a business is influencing the larger buying group, buying committee, in order to provide a point of view that can persuade them depending on the different angles, right? And then, when we think about B2B decision makers being extremely rational, it's also interesting because there is a say that in the 90s about IBM that used to go like, no one ever gets fired from buying IBM, right? And that speaks to the truth of sometimes, unfortunately, how we make decisions in the B2B world, which is I have to convince so many stakeholders around the organization that rather than going with my favorite ambitious option, I'm going to go for the option that is going to get more people on board and is going to get the decision through the finish line. It's going to get legal to sign off, security to sign off, tech to sign off, and so on and so forth, which is very far from where you started in this conceived notion of how the B2B business works. And therefore, that is the reason why we're putting a lot of emphasis in remembering that B2B decision makers are people too. And actually, you have a job to influence a much larger group of people in order to make this sale. And the last thing I'll say is that, we have done this work with LinkedIn where it shows that when it comes to B2B, there is a 95-to-5 rule we call, which basically says that 95% of your target audience is not in market for your specific solution. Only 5% of the audience is in market for your specific solution. And that means that, the people that, when they come to market, then they already have a limited set of businesses and brands that they want to work with and to have in consideration. And therefore, your job is to actually influence the 95% of the people that is not in market quite yet, so that when they come into market, the deck is already stacked in your favor because you have planted the seed with them of perception and brand identity for what your brand is, what your product is, what your company is, that allows you to make the sale more easily. So that's the reframing that we got to do.
So you touched on decision making, right? And I think obviously topic on almost nearly every panel this week has been AI, and I think that's where I'm trying to wrap my head around AI. It's really adding the human element to it because there is so much humanity around AI. It's people are scared that they're going to lose their jobs. Companies are, I think, rushing into. We tend to do this as an industry, I think, where AI is now the top of the genre. We want to do AI. We're going to have AI without really stopping for a second and kind of asking the most important question, which is, what do I need AI to actually do, and what can I do with my business? And the like. So I guess my question to you is, how can businesses approach AI from a human standpoint that for people at the company who have a clear vision of what's going on with AI, and rather than have them fear it, have them want to embrace it to improve not only the company but themselves as well?
Yeah, that's such an important question and work to be done because, when we think about AI and the role that AI has nowadays, I think that a great analogy is thinking back to the 50s and the 60s when our space program, we had people that would do the math by hands, right, the calculation by hand. And then when computers came along, right, those calculations started to be done by the computers, but it's not that people started working in kind of the space program at NASA. Actually, now we have NASA, we have Blue Origin, we have SpaceX, and it allowed us to take these two parts, the exploration of the cosmos, and we're not going to the moon anymore, we're going to Mars and even further, right? So it opened up a lot of possibilities that before we didn't think it were possible. And so that is the kind of the reframing that we have to think when we think about the role of AI in our everyday lives. But bringing it even more closely to kind of the day-to-day. When I talk to my wife, she works in finance, and she oversees finance for a U.S. brand, and I imagine her one day being told that you cannot work with AI, like nowadays being said, oh, you cannot work with Excel, and she will to you, my work doesn't exist without Excel if I work in finance, right? And so tomorrow with AI, she's going to be able to do things in her job that she they never thought would be possible. And so the job here that we have to do as I'm sorry, there's a fire. Yeah. The job that we have to do as tech companies and people that work in this space is to educate, everyone into kind of the power that AI can bring to the table, but at the same time make them proficient, give them the skills and the learnings needed in order to be, take their job and what they can do to the next level and explore, things that before they didn't think it was possible, and take, the industry to the next level with it.
Well, I hope one of the things they figure out is an AI program to get rid of the bugs that are
right.
stage right now. Actually, practical, but it just sounds like that there's just still that even though AI is obviously can do things that humans can't do, you still need that human element to unlock the actual full potential of AI, or to have that discerning eye when doing that practical application. So with that in mind, where do you see kind of like LinkedIn fitting into, I guess, the AI future? Because you're kind of at a unique crossroads, right? Like, obviously LinkedIn, like every other company, will figure out what tools work best for AI, but you're also a spot where people come to, I think, educate themselves in what's going on in industries and in professions. And, for those people that are fearful for the job or want to know that, like, they go to LinkedIn because you're the first really the guidepost to starting that journey all over again. So how do you see LinkedIn, I guess, like, utilizing AI a little bit more to really kind of help their core business, which is connect people to businesses?
I think there is a two-part answer to your question. One is that what LinkedIn can do with AI and empowering everyone that uses LinkedIn in order to, do the things that they want to do. And that is, I think the approach is finding, using AI to solve a problem and not finding a problem that needs to be solved with AI, right? It's not AI for AI's sake. So that, to me, is very, very important. For example, thinking about how you train yourself and the knowledge that you can bring. Earlier last year, we brought, some articles that were AI generated in terms of talking about topics. For example, how do you think about the targeting of your social campaigns or your email campaigns in terms of audience matching, for example, right? And collecting all the knowledge that we saw on the platform, the article, the AI could actually bring a summary of what people were saying. But then what we did is this is not the end all be all. We actually invited folks that were experts in this field to actually chime in, correct, enhance the article. And then you have a fantastic repository of the latest and greatest on that specific topic, curated by the best possible people in the world and in the industry that know about that topic, right? And to me, that is a very powerful tool that you can give to everyone for free in order to evolve their skills, to evolve the way they think about their job. And so that's one thing. And then the other thing in terms of thinking about, the human element of this world of AI is the fact that, as we're building tools and products and everything, me and my team are spending a lot of time doubling down on the foundational elements that will empower AI. And these are both on a technical standpoint and a skills and capability standpoint. On the technical standpoint, people tend to forget kind of like the data pipeline cleanness that you have to have in order to make sure that your LLM is actually having a feedback loop with your KPI so that it can improve over time. The people forget about the meta tagging that you have to do for your assets in order to make sure that you can generate images and assets and content that actually works for your business. And people oftentimes forget the skills that people need to have in order to make the best use of AI. Making sure that you brief people in the right way, your agencies, your partner, you prompt the AI in the right way. And that means that you have to have very clear what your audience is, what their barriers, and what you're trying to overcome, and then how you're going to be measuring success. And if you don't have people that are training these very fundamental things about how we do our business, then probably this very powerful tool is not going to yield the outcome that you are expecting from it, right? Because people also forget the opportunity cost of reducing the production work, right? Or the time to production and the cost of production. Because I can throw a bunch of stuff out there, and it's all gonna be, every possible iteration I can imagine. But that creates an opportunity cost in terms of saying every wrong iteration I'm sending out means that I'm missing an opportunity for the right iteration to be in, and therefore to get closer and closer to my objectives. And therefore being very methodic in the way you structure your objectives, your learning agenda, and how you go through the process of iteration to get closer to your targets. That is something that the human element and the discipline for some of the foundational skills that we know and we have curated for a very long time.
Amazing. Anyone have any questions in the audience? We're just kind of keeping this very casual today and having a conversation around AI and humanity. So, anyone? All right. Any other thing you want to talk? Any other thoughts about the human element of AI, LinkedIn? A couple of minutes here.
I got a question.
Yeah. Sure.
So we were talking about back there video and how that's being prioritized on LinkedIn. You guys now have a new tab that you can click on and all your cool videos pull up there. Like what is the imperative there? Why the focus on video? How is a platform going to be changing as you further prioritize video in the upcoming years?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Video is obviously a very big medium for many of our businesses and many of us in order to make sure that you get your message across. And even when we're talking about podcasting, right now, podcasting lives in the intersection of audio and video, and sometimes it's coupled between the two. And so you want to figure out how you can provide a channel for people where they want to engage with professional content in a way that actually works for them and for the content they're producing. And so we're doubling down with video, and we're doubling down with video in two ways. One, making space in the platform in order to surface the great content that you can find on, professional, your career, your B2B business, and things like this. But also we are using our identity solutions, because as I was saying before, we have very strong identity signals and pipeline in order to allow you to go buy video with other networks and other providers. So for example, we have a partnership with NBC where basically you can use the precision of targeting LinkedIn audience into NBC and now go and make sure that when you go on CTV, even if you're a smaller business, you can actually go exactly to your target audience that you're going after. Thank you.
Great.
All right.
That inspire any further questions? Otherwise, I'll ask another one.
Go for it.
Yeah, so the posting of content on LinkedIn, every professional is doing it, especially here at Cannes. What should we be doing if we want to really drive impact engagement on the platform? Is it some hybrid between still and video? Should we be prioritizing video? How should we be engaging with things to drive interest and impact to our companies' channels, personal channels? What does that look like? Give us a behind the curtain view from
Absolutely.
LinkedIn.
That's also the number one question that my friends ask me is like, how can I get more views, more likes on LinkedIn? And there's a couple of things. Once, obviously thinking about video is going to be a channel and a format that we're going to prioritize going forward. But also the other thing is thinking about how you can share your expertise and your knowledge with the community, right? So when you think about doing a post on LinkedIn, think about how you can, through your knowledge, make someone's lives better and improving, solving someone else's problem. People are going to have, a problem about how to engage with, in a social network with their audience or make their business relevant. And maybe through your experience, you've found, best practices and things that you've learned or case studies with your clients, right? In the way you actually have solved the problem that your clients had. And therefore, by sharing that knowledge is, the algo is gonna pick it up and say, this information, this knowledge is gonna help someone else, and therefore is gonna bring it forward. And as people react to it and find that useful, you create a flywheel that at the end of the day is actually gonna disseminate the context even further. Awesome.
Questions? No more questions.
All
All right, guys, we can wrap. Paulo, Greg, thank you for the time.